Welcome to the Angus Conversation. I'm your host, Miranda Reiman, with my co-host, Mark McCully, who is back in the United States and I guess ready for a busy summer, Mark. This is our final episode in season 6.
That's crazy. One, that we've been doing this for 6 seasons. It
Yeah,
it
it's been
seems
fun.
like we just started. It has been. Everyone is fun and yeah, 6 seasons and getting ready amazingly to all the. I was working on my calendar just yesterday of because June's kind of shot on my calendar already, and then off to July and the National Junior Show and all the things. And yeah, it's we're here.
That's right. My kids had their last day of school yesterday, so this is like first day of freedom for them, and the rest of us are, as you say, looking at our calendars, but there's so much good stuff. I can't be too stressed out about things getting filled in when there's so much good stuff. And kind of first on the Angus calendar in the next couple of weeks will be June board meetings where everyone will travel to Tennessee to be in President Jonathan Perry's home state there. So
Yeah, we're going to Nashville. Actually, this week we've been doing online committee meetings or online on to be over virtual. There's the word I'm looking for. Virtual committee meetings where we have 6 different committees, and so it's been a busy week of that and getting. I always think kind of some of the pre-work done going in to make sure the board meetings when we come together face to face are as productive as we can make them and make good use of everybody's time and travels and such. And yeah, so we'll have a special edition of the podcast coming out after the board meeting, right as we wrap up. We'll try to get everybody gathered up, and you're not going to be my. I've
yeah,
got
are
to
you
do this kind
nervous?
of. I'm very nervous, actually. I'm very
Mark,
nervous. So I'll start laying out the disclaimers right now that I will not do as good of a job without Miranda there, but I will channel my inner Miranda and do the best I can to. I think Kelly's going to join me as maybe co-host, and we'll grab some board members and we'll talk through kind of all the things we talked about.
that's right. I'm going to be chaperoning a junior high trip to Washington, D.C. So I am excited about that, but I do get a little bit of FOMO because I like talking about all the great things to come in the breed. So yeah, we made sure you weren't just solo, Mark. We've got
You don't
Kelly there
trust
to
me to
back
run solo, and that's good judgment right there.
Kelly there to back you up. So, and then after that, we are already planning for our junior takeover of the Angus conversation when we come to National Junior Angus Show. So
Yeah.
excited to grab the youth again. We did that last year where we had kind of rapid fire. We released several episodes all at once so people could hopefully listen to them on their drives back home, or if you're not at National Junior
Yeah.
Angus Show and get a little bit of that FOMO I just described, you can tune in and hear what happened down there in Tulsa.
Yeah, we did the inaugural ones last summer and they were a blast and super popular and look forward to round two. They'll be I always just worry I'm sure I'm gonna lose my job getting having all these young folks come in and do such a great job, but it's gonna be fun.
They were super impressive, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. I have been joking a little bit. The only thing I'm not looking forward to is being 7 months pregnant in Tulsa in July. So if everyone could start praying now for a little bit of a cool weather streak, I would appreciate that.
I've been telling everybody it's gonna be 80 degrees, so I figure if I just keep saying it, it'll happen.
That's
So
right. Replicate that Madison, Wisconsin weather we had. That was pretty
yes.
good. So,
Yeah.
well, today's episode, just to kind of move right along, today's episode of the podcast was really a fun one. We've, had a lot of people that we've covered over the course of the years and the seasons, but a name that we've had on our list, and we got to visit with Andy and Tyler Musgrave. So, brother pair. That might have been, is that the first time we've had brothers on?
That's a good question. We've done a lot of fathers, sons, or husband and
Husband, wife.
wives, and lots of pairs. But I think you're right. I think it was the first pair of brothers, and there was no squabbles.
That's right. So tune into this one. I think you'll really enjoy hearing about everything from their breeding philosophies to some stories behind kind of the big names to come out of the Musgrave program. Today on the podcast, we are headed to Mark's native state of Illinois. So, Mark, I'm going to pass the baton right over to you.
Yeah, going down to Musgrave Angus. So we've got Tyler and Andy joining us here from I always say Griggsville. I guess you guys are kind of down that Pittsfield, multiple little cities down in Pike County. And obviously a name and an outfit that doesn't need much introduction. You guys have you and your family have really been had a huge influence on the Angus breed, and in particular here the last couple decades. And so excited to have you guys join. And maybe I'll just kind of have you guys start out, Tyler. Maybe a little bit of your introduction. How about we start there?
Sure, Mark. Certainly want to thank you guys for inviting us to be on the Angus Conversation podcast today. It's a pleasure to be on here with you guys. As a listener, it's quite an honor now to be on the show myself. So once again, thank you guys for the invite. So I guess, the home base here in Griggs, Illinois, down in Pike County, and kind of the Pittsfield, Griggsville area here. Been raising Angus cattle here for, I guess, all of my life. Melvin started raising the Angus cattle back in the 60s. But, Angus cattle are certainly a passion of ours. It's something that we kind of eat, sleep, and breathe, and we do it every day. Been blessed here, with family here, got 4 sons. My wife is actually a Pike County native as well. But yeah, I've been home base here in Pike County, but I guess it's God's country. It's a great place to raise a family and raise Angus cattle.
Love that.
And Andy, you remind me of your path. I know you were at Oklahoma State at one point. Did you go to Blackhawk first?
Yes, I graduated high school in 1995, and I was on the livestock judging team at Blackhawk. I was on our state 4-H judging team, I guess, with my freshman year at Blackhawk. We were on that. From Blackhawk, transferred to Oklahoma State, and I had a liking or love for Angus cattle. And when I attended Oklahoma State, I worked at the Purebred Beef Center under Cindy Pribble and Mark Johnson. So learned a lot of things there, saw some new concepts, and it was going to school can get, monotonous and tiring of studying, but you could always go back out and kind of feel some stress relief with, working with the cattle and feeling like you were doing something that you're accustomed to doing as you grew up. Graduated there in graduated there in, I guess, 99, 2000, somewhere there. Moved back home here, farmed here, raised cattle here, and married my wife, which my wife and Tyler's wife are sisters.
That's kind of ironic.
I was going to ask about that. Yeah.
That simplifies family get-togethers, doesn't it?
It really is. So they're sisters, Beth and Sarah. Beth is my wife. Sarah's Tyler's wife. And I've got 4 sons, Braden, Adam, and Ben.
You've got 3 sons. I've got 4 sons.
Braden, Adam, and Ben. Ben youngest. Braden has graduated from Lakeland College, and he is back here working alongside us now. Adam will be starting as a junior at the University of Illinois next fall. Ben is graduating the 8th grade next Thursday. So mine are just about out of the nest, and Tyler's have a long ways to go.
I'm kind of spread out with mine.
So our kids are full sieve and blood.
Yeah. Tyler, what's the age range on your boys?
Yeah, so I was going to say, if you've ever been to the Angus Hall of Fame, I think there's a photograph Tom Burke has in there somewhere that we have 7 full sibs in blood between Andy and I. He's got a photo of us.
They're all bulls.
They're all bulls. Yeah, full brothers in blood. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We're pretty prolific sires. Not Cavanese, though. Definitely not Cavanese sires here in the family.
So guys,
I've got a wide range. My youngest is 5. He was born in 2020. Kind of what Sarah and I call our surprise. He was born 3 days after the bull sale, so that was a roller coaster that year anyway, 2020, and then having a baby a few days after the sale day.
COVID year, wasn't it?
That was a year of COVID. Yeah. My oldest, Eli, is a freshman in high school. He loves FFA and active in 4-H and likes to be involved in showing cattle and FFA livestock judging. Loves to go to the competitions, and he's got an eye for it. He's pretty good.
I think they like hunting more than anything, though.
They do love to hunt.
Oh, duck hunt, turkey hunt, deer hunt. We are big hunters.
They love to hunt.
You guys are in a good location for that.
Oh, there's a lot of critters around here. So yeah. Sam is 12, Ian is 10, and Kai is 5. So it's going to be a while before I have an empty nest.
I feel you there, Tyler, in the age range thing. I bet you're a little bit like our family. When we get the school calendar, we just cross off what we don't have to go to rather than highlight what we do have to go to. One in every stage. You've got every spring concert program activity there is. Yeah, track meet, etc. Yeah.
Oh yeah, our calendar fills up.
Ben starts driver's ed in June. It's hard to believe.
Hallelujah, right? Hallelujah.
So, guys, when you came back to the farm, was that always kind of the intent to come back, and how did that work?
I guess from a young age, I always knew that I wanted to farm, and I had an opportunity to stay here. I just went to a local community college, John Wood Community College here. It's not very far from based here in Pike County. They've got an ag satellite division there, but I had an opportunity to start grain farming at a young age and renting some land and stuff. So I had an opportunity I didn't want to miss, and I attended junior college, and then kind of slowly evolved, and and then Andy was back here. We were farming together, and then we wanted to improve our Angus cow herd. We wanted to grow and expand, and it's taken a long time, and it's been a little bit at a time, and adding a few cows here and there, and trying to improve some cow families and add some genetics, and one thing after another. But I guess it was always kind of my intention to farm and be in agriculture. It's something I really like. It's who I am.
Yeah, I guess I would ditto that. Kind of the same remarks as he made.
And now you got to make room for 7 boys now, right? Is that the plan?
I have no idea.
Yeah, that's a lot of boys. Yeah. Make room for 7 boys. Yep. Something like that.
That's called growth.
7,000 cows.
That's right. This day and age. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe a little more background, maybe on Musgrave Angus. Was it started by your dad, Melvin? Was he the first generation to start running registered cows, or did it start before that?
He was first.
Melvin was first. So I guess our family's been involved in agriculture here in Pike County for well over 100 years. My grandpa, he had hogs, and he had a few cattle, but was mainly into hogs. My dad raised a lot of hogs when he was younger, growing up, and
everybody had hogs in this county.
Yeah, at one time I think Pike County, Illinois was the right hog capital of the world right here. Yep. Yeah. So a lot of pigs and a lot of things have changed since then. There's still a lot of hogs in Pike County, but they're all under roof, and you wouldn't know it. But
when did he buy his first heifer?
So Melvin actually didn't buy it. He
didn't buy it.
Yeah,
he didn't have to buy it.
But the first Angus heifer was given to him.
Yeah, and still have the same cow family.
Yeah, the story goes, I think it was in like 1962, and he wanted to get a 4-H heifer to take for a 4-H project.
It was in the fall.
Yeah, and he gets home from school one day, and they went up the road to New Salem, north up here at New Salem, the Gleifler farm.
No, they're right here.
Well, no, to get a Hereford heifer.
Yeah, they were gone.
And the guy wasn't home. They knocked, and the guy wasn't there. And Melvin said that was fate right there, because if that guy had been home, we'd been Hereford breeders.
It'd be Musgrave Herefords.
So, yeah,
pretty darn.
So yeah, then he went over to the other neighbor who just lives about half a mile from the home place there, and that guy was home, and he had Angus cattle. And, Ernie Lambeth was his name, and Ernie made a deal with Melvin that if he took three heifers and kept them through the winter and through the summer and broke all 3 of them to lead and take care of them, that he would let him pick one of them for free to keep at the end of the season. And that was his first female, and
that was the initial Lady Barbara.
The initial Lady Barbara cow family. That was that first cow. So,
and they lived in a little chicken coop right where our shed sits right now, where we keep our bulls at.
Wow.
Yep, right there in the backyard. So it all started from a pretty small 4-H project, and now it's grown into something much different. So
yeah. So fast forward to where you guys are today. You guys also farm quite a bit. Maybe give us a little lay of the land of what Musgrave Angus looks like today.
Well, we grain farm, just say 1,500 acres of corn and 1,500 probably of beans. There's how many acres of pasture you think there is?
I don't know, probably 1,500 or so.
Probably 1,500 acres of grass spread out in different places, either owned or rented. We've been busy here the last, couple weeks moving cows, split the heifer calves from the bull calves, take those to summer grass. Cows with heifer calves would go south of here 15 miles to summer pastures. Cows with bull calves will stay closer to home. And we can, watch and manage them better. So basically, as soon as our sale's over, March, we'll start delivering cattle. It gets really busy and hectic. Next thing you know, it's time to breed cows. Next thing you know, the neighbors are planting corn. Dust is flying, so you got to do that. So it's really, really, really busy in April. I plant all the corn. Tyler works the ground. And my dad plants all the soybeans. So that's just kind of how that goes. Springs are quicker than fall. Then you have to harvest all that in the fall. And that becomes very, very time consuming.
Especially when Mother Nature is involved.
Yeah, absolutely.
But our crop I think it's off to a really good start this year. Our corn stands are excellent. Beans look good. We had 2.5 inches of rain here a couple nights ago. I think there's been some dry areas, but we're pretty good right through here on moisture. It's been pretty even all spring. So we'll see if it keeps coming. We've started into some hay fields. We've wet wrapped some triticale. That's kind of the last few jobs we've been working on, and mowed some grass hay to turn cows out on that. And so we're kind of entering into hay season. Cows are on grass. Maybe putting in a few second round embryos, kind of winding down,
The boys are home from school. They want to start a bit of more time working with 4-H projects, and then they want to go to shows, go to the fairs. Just
cleaning up our winter messes, hauling manure, all kinds of stuff.
Continue to chase our tail.
Mm-hmm.
So some show pigs? You guys do some show pigs, right?
So I don't have any on feed this year in my shed.
Okay.
I'm having whip draws I'm having.
Oh, okay.
No show pigs for
bring up
Andy.
a sore
No,
subject.
Our sister's got some. She's got some show pigs.
My sister has show pigs.
Okay.
She has 9 barrels on feed, which is plenty to keep you busy, exercising and all that they get nowadays done to them,
Yeah.
But my middle boy showed him that he's working this summer, and he's kind of aged out of that. And my youngest boy, Ben, he's got a steer and a heifer. He's working every day on those. Unfortunately, they're not black, but that's what he's doing.
You'll get him converted eventually, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, they're hard to buy. Can't afford them.
Yeah.
They bring a lot.
Yeah. Very good. So when you guys came back, how did you exactly decide who was gonna, I heard you just say you do all the corn, Dad does all the soybeans, all of that. How did you decide those roles? Was it just naturally what you were interested in, or did somebody declare it? How does that work?
I think Andy just hopped in the corn planter one day, and he went and planted corn, and Melvin said, "Well, that looks pretty good." I thought, "Looks all right." And then it was just his job after that.
I'm real picky with the corn planting, though. I have to have perfectly straight rows. Everything has to be so-so. There's so much computerized stuff in the tractor. It's hard to explain how to do it. So I did plant some corn at the end of the year. It's not too tough once you do it, but there's a lot of stuff to watch,
Sure.
A lot of monitors.
So you've just got to be the pickiest one, and you get assigned the task?
Pretty much, yeah. Yep.
But nobody knows how to run his bean planter, so I don't know how to do it.
I don't know how to run that planter. I'm not sure. I need to learn how to do that at some point. We're kind of lackadaisical when it comes to grain farming, so we're a little more intense when it comes to the cow side of things, I guess.
And how do you divide up all the cow work? I mean, is somebody making the genetic decisions, or are you guys all three kind of taking a vote? How does that work?
Committee process.
It's kind of a committee process, I guess, to a degree.
We all know what bulls are.
We all kind of know what we want to use, and the last few years we've used a lot of our home raised sires and bulls that we've sold to the production sale. And I think it's important to use your own bull and to prove him out and to get genetic, just to keep moving the genetics forward. And we've used a lot of our own bulls, but we kind of talk about what we're going to breed to, and we'll have 4 or 5 sires that we raise, that we own, that we want to for sure use. And then we'll have kind of a different assortment of bulls that we're going to flush to bring some different genetics in that way.
That's how we've been using outside bulls the last couple years.
We've been sourcing a lot of new genetics basically through the ET program, because you can kind of pick and choose which cow family, which cow, her attributes, how she's going to, mate or cross on some new bulls that we're bringing in because
you got a whole New Zealand. It's way different.
Yeah. So, that's part of my addiction. So, Angus is my addiction. So, anyway, so we implement a lot of new genetics through the ET program that kind of keep your bread and butter, what's going to keep building the cow herd, moving it forward, that you can be confident in with these bulls. Right. So, a lot of the customers are repeat buyers, and when they come to Musgrave Angus, they want to buy a Musgrave pedigree because you can maybe buy something else from a lot of different registered places, seed stock firms throughout the country, but they come here, they want to buy something that's unique. So we use our own bulls. And I always thought to myself, like, I don't think Henry Ford drove a Chevy, so he probably drove a Ford. So we kind of, if we're going to stand behind these cattle and improve them, we got to use them. So that's what we do.
And it kind of looks like to me, as you watch bull sales in the spring across the country, guys that, dive into their own herd sire and put faith into it and would have a group of sons out of that generally are the ones that sell the best, for that operation. So I think it's good for every operation to utilize their own genetics, kind of prove out that they
have a program, right?
Yeah. Yes. A program. Exactly.
Program. Yep. It's important to do that, not have 20 different sires listed of 2 of this and 2 of this and 2 of this,
So real quick, well, I really want to get into breeding philosophy because I know a lot of our listeners will really enjoy getting in your brains of how you're thinking about Angus cattle. Real quick on the program, you guys have a spring, your production sale, pick them in the pike, and which I believe was, you just had an anniversary. Was it your 30th annual sale this spring?
That's correct. Yeah, we just had the 30th annual sale.
I just looked at the book, 30th.
Yeah. And then you also started a fall sale here not too long ago, correct?
That's right. So I think we just had like the 5th. It's an online platform.
There's been 5 of them.
We've had 5 of those online sales.
Okay.
Kind of what we focus on with the online sale in November, we market a lot of our embryos and kind of our front end genetics through that embryo program. We just offer the embryos once a year. Kind of a event that I think a lot of people look forward to, because we make a lot of these new genetics through the summer.
And embryos we've utilized. That's the same matings we put in, and and we're basically selling them out in the fall.
Those that you couldn't get put in. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, going into the fall breeding while they're still current. And
some, we make a lot of our embryos in the summertime, and we're 100% IVF. So we like to get those donor cows pregnant, and then we just kind of focus on the IVF thing. We've had good luck. I think IVF came a long ways from where it started many years ago, but I think they've got the science down now, and it's really became pretty successful
anymore.
No, we've had really good luck with it. So I think one of the good parts, one of the very best parts about it, is keeping that donor cow pregnant so she can get sale and keep her in production. Yeah. So it's really good for her to keep her longevity up. So
we're getting ready to take cows next week that are pregnant, our donors.
Yeah, we've got some new ones coming up. So
right after the cab, we'll give them 45, 60 days. We IVF'd them there in March, I guess, and we put those embryos in. And we have some of those left, but now we'll go back with those same cows after they're hopefully pregnant 60 days and take them to the ET center, and then that's where we do our like IVFing type stuff for maybe stuff we would offer in our sale along with the others in the fall.
Yep.
That we focus on now.
Yeah. So
that cow gets used a lot.
Right. She's got big shoes to fill. So that's kind of the program there with the ET and the fall sale.
What's your philosophy on getting on what's a donor cow? Do you use virgin heifers at all? Do you largely stick with more proven cows, or what's your philosophy there?
We try to use proven cows.
Yeah.
Cows that we like to look at. We like to look at cattle here.
Yeah.
They have to be good looking. Numbers have to be in balance. Phenotype is the hardest thing to breed. Numbers is the quickest thing to get. But a good combination, I think, is where we're trying to land on.
That's kind of the sweet spot if you have both.
Not wild figured and you can't look at the animal, but I want something you can stand to look at. So when you go outside every day and you're doing chores, you can enjoy what you're doing because you can stand there and look at them, you know. You can get your cell phone out and take 50,000 pictures over. But I like phenotype. So they have to be, you know, proven, have a track record behind them. They may have had, you know, cows that had a few bulls that we've sold well, cows that just proven cows that have nice daughters. We flush open heifers.
Yeah, and I probably have learned most of what I know from the school of hard knocks. And I have flushed virgin heifers in the past, and I've gotten along decent.
I got straight this year.
But there's been some scenarios where that didn't work as well because kind of screwed her up for the next 2 years of her life by doing that.
But we don't use any drugs when we IVF. We just aspirate only.
Right. But typically try to use that proven cow that has a good track record, good nursing ratio, or may have something that, you know, has the phenotype and maybe high, you know, over one marble or high scrotal, or has this, that, or the other EPD that we think is unique within that female. And then you can bring in, like we said earlier, you can bring in some new genetics and use on a cow like this, that, or the other. We've got several cows, and they're different types of cows that we flush, you know, typically, but all have really strong attributes. And then you can bring these other bulls in to mate with them and hopefully have a good outcome.
They don't have really a lot of super high ratio in cows. And I got to think about that. And I don't have a lot of super low ones either, because to me, they're all pretty even. They're going to ratio pretty even. Because I've got, you know, the ones that are inferior, they're gone. I don't have these big swings, you know.
They've been pretty tight on the culling process. So if there's problems, they're usually not around very long. Yeah. Andy and I had this conversation this spring. We were looking at ratios, nursing ratios, and track records of some cows, and there were some females that we were really high on that we really like because we see them every day, but we may not come and look at what their nursing ratio is and keep up, you know, with that as often as we maybe should. But I think this particular cow had 4 calves with their nursing ratio of 96, and she's one of the better cows. But then we were just talking, I told him, I said, you know, in theory, think about this. What if I was starting an Angus herd and I went out across the country, and one of my criteria is to buy a cow with a nursing ratio of, you know, 3 at 105 or 2 at 105 or just whatever that is, but just, you know, over 105 nursing ratio, and I bought 100 cows that have this criteria. Now I put all these cows and assembled them into my new herd. Right off the bat, half of those cows are going to start ratioing at under 100.
Right.
So I guess it's all in theory, it's perspective, but that's just where our minds go on some stuff sometimes.
Hold that thought for just a minute as we get a word from our sponsors. At Ingram Angus near Pulaski, Tennessee, there's a code they use for doing business. Integrity is what we stand by. Good quality people who deal with good quality cattle. They invite you to learn more about their program at ingramangus.com. And the whole Ingram crew wants to wish all the juniors good luck at their shows this summer. And now back to the rest of the show.
So I love your tagline. I think it's Angus that thrives. So describe what that means for you guys. And I know you've gotten into a little of it here, but maybe go a little deeper.
So Angus that thrive, I guess one of the ultimate philosophies, one of the ultimate things we're trying to achieve here is to breed genetics that will go out in a multitude of environments and thrive. And I think that it's important to raise cattle that have kind of a low input cost, that don't have a lot of problems, kind of a problem-free animal. And long term, I mean, that's going to be the most kind of the ideal animal that people are going to be drawn to. But so Angus that thrive are just kind of creating genetics that will go out in a multitude of environments and do well for the new customers. So I guess it's as simple as that. So I was looking at some other, they just have to do good. Right.
If they're not doing good for customers, we're not doing good.
Yeah. So ultimately we want to create a product that goes out and does well for others. So I think that's what everybody wants to do, but that's something that we take to heart, and we really want people to have good luck with the cattle that they use and buy and purchase and use semen or embryos or whatever it might be. But we really want people to have good luck.
Yeah. And taking care of the customers is probably the most important thing, one of the most important keys you'll have to do to have a successful sale.
Pretty much.
Because if you don't take care of them, they're going to go somewhere else. And there's a lot of places to go, and there's a sale every day.
Yeah.
So you have to be, and everything isn't sugarcoat. There's things happen. We have problems with things. Believe it or not, we have problems. And you just have to be the first there to do whatever they want to do, take care of their problems. It's all fine then. You just got to take care of them.
Well, nothing travels
got to communicate
faster than word of mouth.
Yeah.
Right.
And usually bad news travels faster than
Just
good.
a nickel faster. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just do what they want to do, and everybody will be better off.
So you guys said that they've got to thrive for their customers. They got to do good for your customers. How do you make sure that they are? How do you keep up, what's your communication line with your customers to make sure that you're providing them exactly what they need?
We visited them in the summer.
We try to make a lot of herd visits. We don't get the time to make as many as I'd like to make. I think it's important to go visit people, kind of go see what their operation, their ranch looks like.
At least call them and visit with them, how things have done for them.
Call and visit, go to their operation, kind of look at the management practices, and kind of maybe also what kind of feed resources they have in their area and what type of cattle might fit that environment better.
Yeah, because you'll get a lot of questions when you go there and start looking around, visiting with them. And, we pick up on ideas from our customers. We've seen things they do, and they've asked us things we do. And
there's a lot of different management styles out there, and I think that's one of the things that's really cool about raising Angus cattle, because management styles are typically based on environment and resources. And it's fun to go see how other people manage what they have and how they're progressing and kind of how they make their livelihoods. So that's one part of Angus that thrive. I think also in that equation of Angus that thrive, one thing in breeding cattle, we haven't really tried to follow extremes. Try to keep cattle balanced. Don't want them to be too extreme in any direction, whether it's frame or hair coat or, milk EPD, but try to keep them balanced kind of in the middle. And it seems like those cattle can go out there and do the best most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time those cattle can go out there and thrive if they're not too extreme in any one direction.
You ask about breeding philosophy, and this spring, I guess, as we bred, we used less bulls probably this year than we ever have. Our side groups will go to, and we were really, really, really picky on hoof quality.
Probably the number one question we get from people.
First thing I'll ask you.
The first thing they ask. Yeah.
Breeding philosophy, we're going to have, we looked at nothing else, and we're just visually trying to feed bulls to cows, trying to correct things, That would be one of them this year. The second one is scrotal.
Yeah.
I really, I'm trying to push the scrotal EPD up. I'm trying to make a calf crop where they're all ones and up. And then you don't have to worry about it, hopefully,
Yeah.
And that's a big thing to me, selling bulls, because to me, some of the scrotal has been lost in cattle. So I'm watching that pretty closely.
Mm-hmm.
That and hoof quality. Then along with, to me, phenotype comes next. They're going to have to be nice looking cattle.
Well, they got to be,
and then
easy flesh eating,
right?
Deep body, thick made. These guys, and going and looking at a lot of different operations. Most of those guys probably aren't going to take care of that bull the way that's taken care of here at Musgrave Angus. So when they go collect him in the fall and bring him in, he still needs to have a pair of pants on, and he needs to still kind of look like a bull. And most of the time, if he gets the cows bred, they're going to be pretty happy, and he'll feed back up, and they'll be happy.
Good muscling. Well, I told Tyler that, you haul a bull 600 miles across the country. He's on the trailer with 8 other bulls, and they're banging around. They're going to kind of get wrung out looking when you unload them. And you back up to a guy's loadout, and you're standing there with him, and you swing the door open, and there he goes down through there. And his first look is from behind, and he runs down through there 30, 40 foot. And that's that guy's first impression. It's going to stick in his mind a while if he's never seen it before. So you better be kind of stout, have some between your legs when you're taking off down through there. I told him, we need to breed for that.
Right.
Yep. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's go stick with it.
Fescue, guys. I know you guys, you're in a fescue belt. How do you do you try to genetically hair shed? I mean, do you use the EPD, or is it more around the cattle that shed quicker?
No, the cattle. Never
Yeah.
have used the EPD.
Yeah.
The cattle, we studied all the time, so the pedigrees.
Yeah.
And
we've got rid of cows that hold hair and stuff, but I don't know. We've never really thought about it. They just shed off.
You got to have cattle that slick out pretty well, so.
They just sort themselves
fescue
out if they don't fit. Yeah.
Yeah,
they do. Right. They do. In the cow herd here, it's been fescue tolerant for years and years. So you take that into consideration. So half of this DNA is going to come from the cow when you breed these different bulls. So most of the time you're not going to have too much trouble with hair shed in the fescue. But fescue has other, there's other problems with fescue in that, I think that's one reason you got to have cattle that are easy fleshing, because they're not going to go out there through the summer and they're not eating. I mean, fescue, what is it? 7%, 4 to 7% protein during the summer. So they're not going to go out there and get hog fat on that. And they're going to have to eat a lot of it. So, and it's high moisture. So they're going to have cattle with a lot of capacity so they can eat a lot and convert that into protein. So,
and fescue throws a lot of challenges with breeding and staying bred and hoof quality, I would say, too, because it raises their body temperature, immensely.
Right.
That would cause feet to grow, and that would cause them to slow the calf midsummer, and I don't know. We don't really think about it.
There's a host of problems, but any environment has its own challenges.
It really has problems.
Yep.
When you guys talk about breeding and having, kind of balanced cattle, and you don't shoot for extremes and those kind of things, how do you also balance that with? I mean, you've had some bulls that have made it, I guess is what I'll call it. How do you get those ones that are kind of stars in the breed, while also trying to, breed all your cattle the same, I guess?
If we knew the answer to that question, we'd do it more often.
Well, it feels like you've got quite a few on a list.
It's just luck.
Luck.
Let's talk about some. Tell the story. I love hearing some of the stories. I don't know the story, but Bando 1961. Maybe that's
I know that one well.
That's an Andy story. Yep. Andy can take the 1961 story. I probably can do the 316 story. So
okay.
I was planting corn. Let me think about it. Oh no, we got Quentin Smith's cell book in the mail, and that was on the era when 5175 was very popular, and saw there was a flush of bulls in there out of a Miss Cheyenne cow, and Danny May at the time was helping Quentin, the late Quentin.
Yeah.
And at Oklahoma State, I was friends with Danny May. So I called him and I asked him about those bulls. And he's like, yeah, they're pretty nice. There's one that's, a really nice looking one. And I think he's a pretty nice bull. So I was planting corn, and my dad loaded up in the truck one morning early, and we needed the bull badly to turn out. And he drove down there and looked at the bulls, and there was a bigger frame full brother to him. I think brought more, didn't he?
Yeah,
he was a top seller. But my dad said this other one, 1961, that he was the best one. So he gave a whole $3,500 for him and bought him. And Burke was sitting there, watched him sell right through the ring. And after the sale, he loaded him, and Quentin shook my dad's hand and thanked him for coming. Said that bull will do a good job for you. And he did a real good job for it. So that's and Bando came home. He got turned out with cows.
We put him with heifers.
He bred. That fall, he bred cows. He lived with cows all winter, and he went back with cows. He just lived with cows.
Yeah, I don't think anybody actually saw that bull until he was mature, because we kind of used the dickens out of him.
And then Don Trimmer
came through.
Yeah, Don was here.
Yep.
Yeah, Don was
celebrated.
Yep.
And then he just got
the rest of history after that, I think. So as more people used the bull, and at the time, I think when people kind of discovered him, we had daughters in production, and that was way before the era of social media. So you actually had to go out to the farm, and people had to come here to look at them. So a lot of traffic.
Yeah, they call people. Because I remember calling Tim Fitzgerald and asking him about that Cheyenne cow. Oh, she was really good, he said, when they showed her. And blah, 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 because we inspected her a little bit. But we just kind of found out about him.
Yeah.
Making the old phone calls.
And went out and have a huge impact. Yeah.
Yeah, 1961, I don't know if he was maybe like fifth in the breed for registrations one year. 1961 was, or third maybe. But
they could be 16 years old and look like they're 4 years old.
Yeah.
Gray gutters, feet stayed good on them. They were good cattle.
Going back further, than 1961, and just talking about our relationship with Don Trimmer. And that's another one that he can probably chime in on, was the War Alliance 9126. That was the very first bull that we had leased with an AI company.
From Wagon Hammers we purchased.
And Andy went to the sale and bought him, I think. And that was at the time, I think it was in 2000.
It was right before things.
1999 was the year we bought that bull, 1999. And at the time, you know, he
paid $87.50 for him.
And that was a pile of money. $87.50 was a pile of money.
It was before bull. It was just on the break before bulls really start bringing a lot of money, I thought.
Yep. And I think Vance Uden was there.
But he did a lot for him. Yep.
He commended Andy on buying a hell of a bull.
Yep.
That War Alliance. That was it. But that, you know, that's kind of when the relationship with Accelerated Genetics started, was with War Alliance, and then it kind of then blossomed into 1961, and then further down the road, the Keneally Reflection.
Yeah, he was there.
And that was the top selling bull at Keneally, I think, in 2003.
First bull walk in the ring. Yep.
And we paid $13,000 for him. And that was the top selling bull that day. So things have really changed, haven't they?
Yep.
Yeah. I think they averaged that this year. Yeah.
No, a little more.
Yeah.
A little more.
And then how about Capital?
So,
Jerry actually wanted to buy him back, didn't he?
Yeah, Jerry wanted to buy Reflection back at one time. I think he's went on to be a Pathfinder sire now. Reflection has. So he was an excellent sire too.
It seemed like it used to be easier to find those bulls.
It seemed like it.
It used to be easier to find them.
Why is that? It should be easier. It should be easier to find them today with everybody's got a camera and
Do
a
you
video.
think everybody else has found him now?
Oh, yeah.
I've thought about that, but it seemed like they were easier to find 20 years ago.
I don't know.
I don't know if they've changed.
I think it's because there's more good ones now, so it's harder to select them.
Could be.
You know,
Yeah.
There actually is cattle. If you go back, and I'm kind of a history nerd on Angus cattle. I've got my office is filled with all kinds of stuff, kind of like Tom Burke has at his Hall of Fame, but not quite. There's nothing on the ceiling in here yet. But if you look back at history and pictures of the cattle, they've really came a long ways. The progression is widely noticeable. Cattle I think they're better today than they've ever been. I think the breed's right on target with the good cattle. But anyway, they're right there where they need to be.
How about the story on Capitalist? Or is there a story?
So there's a story. So
Yeah.
I think Andy was at Keneally's that year when Capitalist 028 sold, and liked that bull quite a bit.
I
really liked
it
it.
to this day.
He was really wide and thick and deep, very dense made. And then when they had that first group of sons, we went, Melvin had gone out to Keneally's to look at that first group of 028 sons. And there was one there that kind of stuck out, and we tried to buy. I think Raven Angus ended up buying him, but he brought a little more that day a little more than 13,000 that day, but I think he brought 65 or something.
74.
So he was a little higher than we were going to go. And at the time we were using a bull called Musgrave Aviator, and Tanya Belsham in British Columbia had bought Aviator here at the sale maybe 2 years prior to that. And I was on the phone with her, and she said that, asked if I had heard of a place called Ludington Cattle, Oklahoma.
Did she buy a bull there?
She went there and looked at the cows, I think, maybe that summer, and she was looking at the videos, and she said there was some pretty good 028 sons in the videos. I got on Superior, looked at the videos, and then called Kyle Ludington, talked about the bull and whatnot. And Keneally's sale was on a Saturday, and then Ludington's sale was on a Monday at that time. So Melvin drove from Nebraska down to Oklahoma. He gets there to look at the bull, and he calls up and he says, "Man, it's a good thing I didn't buy that bull at Keneally's. This one's really good down here." So that was 316, and yeah, he did good things.
Yeah.
That bull did a lot of good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I had a call yesterday from actually 2 calls this past week on 316. People still wanting to buy volumes of semen, and it's just not available now like it was. So
This day in that bull's prime, when he was on pasture here with cows, is the best animal I've ever seen. It was just like,
he's remarkable. Yeah,
he was so good.
when he was 5 years old, man, there wasn't anything better. So
I mean, you could just wear out a phone taking pictures of him.
he was a lot of fun. So God rest his soul. He's buried at World West Sire in Montana, and I think his head is being mounted. So I think he's going to reside there at World West in the office when they get him done. So
I've read a few cows in this spring.
Speaking of heads being mounted, I think when I stopped by your place, Stunner you had just got the mount, I think that day. Is that right? That was
That's right. Yeah, Stunner was brand new
springs
that
ago.
day, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Another bull.
Yep. He's still looking good. He's still hanging up, and we got him in a different building, but he's still hanging up.
Still hanging around.
Oh yeah, he's still around.
Tom's not tried to get him at the hall, has he?
He has.
Yeah.
But
of course he has.
He's going to stay safe and sound here.
Where's exclusive at?
So exclusive is buried down at the farm. Yeah. I had a stone made for him, but yeah, been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That bull did a world of good and had numerous sons that did an excellent job. And just to think, if you look at pedigrees and stuff, and even sale catalogs today, the impact that LD Catalyst 316 has had on the breed, not just in the American database, but in the Australian database as well, and in New Zealand, that bull got used heavily.
He's by far and away our most impactful sire.
Very impactful.
Yep. We just got back from Australia and the World Angus Tour, and as we were, you would appreciate to know, as we were going through looking at some pedigrees, we definitely saw some of your influence down under, most certainly. Yeah.
Was that a nice trip?
It was. Yeah, it was. It was some great people, some great cattle, great country. Yeah, it sure was.
Looked like an amazing event.
You touch on Australia and New Zealand. You had, Andy, you maybe mentioned that earlier. You guys are looking at some, I think you guys sampled some New Zealand genetics or some Australian, New Zealand genetics, I think, right?
New Zealand.
New Zealand.
Yep.
Yes, we did. Yep. A bull named Ty Roy R38. And I'm not even, I follow along a lot of the different programs in New Zealand on Facebook and Australia, but kind of as an Angus enthusiast, I just like to look at videos and pedigrees and pictures, just all the content I can absorb in a day.
Well, didn't Lindsey Jones put you on him?
But yeah, I was looking for kind of a bull to use through the ET program that offered a different pedigree that was total outcross. That's so hard to find this day and age, something that really has a true outcross pedigree. And a good friend of mine, late Lindsey Jones, actually Lindsey Jones was the fellow that imported the first semen to New Zealand and Australia on 316. He was the guy that kind of set that up for us.
Okay.
But anyways, Lindsey's passed now, but he found this bull, Ty Roy R38, and went to the stud and looked at the bull, and he thought this one would, he said this might be the bull that you're looking for. So had a native pedigree, had the phenotype that we like, more of an American phenotypic look, that stoutness and bone and that softness to him. And kind of a long process getting semen up here on a bull from a stud down there. Took about 8 months to get it here. And then once it gets here, get him tested, ran through the system. We got a genomic profile made and got the defect pack done. And surprisingly, that bull came through, and his EPDs look pretty good for a bull that came into our database. Transferred over really well, because two main things we were trying to incorporate with a bull like that was cavities and scrotal and foot quality. And I think if you look him up in the American database, he's like a top 2% for claw and angle, and he's still high scrotal, pretty high dollars maternal for
and cavities.
And cavities, high CED. So we got lucky. Sold the first semen, so I actually made an agreement with Ty Angus down in New Zealand, but we sold the first semen in our online sale back in November, and we sold only 100 straws, or 120 straws, and an average like $410 a straw. So I think it was a record price for semen sold from New Zealand. So it was pretty cool.
We'll have the first ones in the fall.
You say it's harder to find those bulls, but I'm guessing Melvin wasn't going down there to find an outcross back in the day. So in some ways it's easier if you've got connections and video and all that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This day and age out. You got videos and video and Facebook videos.
Yeah.
All cell phones have changed the world. Is exactly right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe that GPS too, Andy. You can be sitting in the corn planter looking at bulls.
I do. I put on Autosteer and look at lots of stuff.
That's great.
Well, we've been holding you guys captive here for a while. I guess I would, though, you talked about where the state of the breed, I guess, today. I'd just be curious as you guys think about where we're at today as a breed. I mean, what's your read? What things are you most excited about? Where do you think the things we're going to have to focus on in the future? That's a wide open question, so you can go wherever you want to go with it.
Don't let Andy go first on that one.
That is wide open. What I really think.
Watch out.
I think we have all of the technological tools, we need to drive forward, and that's been taken care of well with the genomics and the, EPDs, and it's a like a fast moving pace and game, and that's all right. And people utilize it probably differently than what, we do in our environments in different areas as far as carcass CPDs and whatnot goes. But I just think people still need to just sit back and look at them sometimes. And Angus needs to look like Angus. I think some Angus don't look like Angus anymore. I think they need to just kind of go back to where their roots were, as being a wedge-shaped maternal machine that's clean and feminine and robust in her body shape and, good square udder. I think bulls need to look like bulls, have some crest and thickness and an Aberdeen look to them. I guess moving forward, that would be my philosophy, people, because every other tool is out there. You can put numbers on things. You can race it up real quick, but just step back and look at them and keep them looking nice. And I think so many other breeds utilize the Angus cow to, influence their breeds, to make their breeds better. Every breed's done it, basically, It's the mother breed, but I think it should stay looking like the mother breed instead of getting to be looking, I won't say exotic, but just try to keep things in some perspective. Don't get too wild everywhere. Just keep them looking like they should look. What made them famous? That's how I think. I mean, that's really the state of breed or where we're at, but
yeah,
that's what I think.
That's
people
great.
should
Great
hopefully
perspective.
look at and, take in perspective a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much to fall into, You can fall into a lot real quick and you can get in trouble real quick. But the thing is, you should just step back and focus on quality, I think. Let everything else come next. I think they'd be better off.
Tyler, we gave you a lot of time to think about that.
Yeah, so I'll second that. Andy's right. He's right. Cattle do need to look more Aberdeen. They need to keep that look. But when you say the word Aberdeen, I think some people might get the perception or idea that they'd be modern or small. But I think just like still have that nice Angus female head and bull head.
They're
but still the performance and size that is relevant to the industry today. So I think one of the challenges coming forward is, everybody knows this and we talk about it all the time, but numbers aren't growing. The cow herd isn't growing. You don't see numbers increasing across the country. There's a wide variety of things that would impact that. One, the age of these guys that have cattle. Two, the need for labor and people that have some experience and background raising cattle. So it's not like you can't just go get regular labor. You got to get somebody with some experience. But I think Angus has a challenge because the demand in the market is so big that Angus might have a hard time keeping up with it. So we're trying to feed a market that's so big. It's hard to multiply these things quick enough to feed that demand.
Because the numbers don't meet the.
So one way to
and maintain quality. Yeah.
And maintain quality.
Right.
So I don't know. I think that for us, we're going to try to make cattle with the bigger carcass weight, because I think carcass weight is going to have a lot of importance down the road. You got all these new facilities being built. I'll name drop Sustainable Beef that's in production now, but there's other ones across the country that are similar to that are going up, and there's going to be a lot of demand for product. The only way that place is going to work if you got product. And I will touch on, there is one of those being built here in the state of Illinois, and it will be similar in size to the Sustainable Beef project. And that's kind of the focus there. It would be carcass weight and size and and there's going to be demand for product. These places, they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars to build these places. You got to have product. There's going to be a lot more competition in the market trying to buy feeder calves and trying to source and buy these good Angus calves to run through these places. So I think that's a challenge for the breed moving forward. And that because something's going to fill the void, whether it's Angus or beef on dairy, something's going to fill that void, and they're going to find cattle somewhere to run through that plant. So,
but I don't know how you fix that, because you can't just go out and say you need to raise cattle, and have more. I don't know how you fix it.
Yeah, I don't know how you fix it. So
people, pass away and sell herds, and families disperse it. And I don't know how you fix it. It's a hard question to fix, if it is fixable.
You bring up, and this is probably a whole nother podcast, Miranda, but you bring up the plan. I'm curious, especially as an Illinois native, do you think will that reinvigorate some cattle feeding, some finishing cattle, maybe some hoop barns and things in Illinois or in that eastern corn belt, or the corn belt, I should say, but that part of the world, will it reinvigorate a little bit of cattle feeding?
It will. Yeah.
I say it's too easy to drive a tractor.
It will. I mean, the demand's there, and the size and scale of this project, there are going to be several thousand head of cattle fed here in Illinois now to go along with this project.
With current day cattle prices, it will intrigue people more to get interested in them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At today's standards of what we're doing.
We grain farm quite a bit too. I mean, you can definitely make more money raising cattle than you can grain farming. Right? There's a bigger margin raising cattle than there is row crop farming for sure. So the incentive is there.
Yep.
If they want to work.
If they want to work, because it's a challenge. It's a job. So but the incentive is there. So and I think it will be a changing landscape here in the state of Illinois with more cattle being fed, because there's going to be more opportunity and more demand for that product here, locally. So, and something of that scale is not just in Illinois, it's going to draw from surrounding states and cattle bring in to supply that.
More on-farm feeders raising up in Illinois, because it isn't like you have to raise cow calves. You can run feeder cattle, and you can build a hoop barn, and you can still do your row crops, and you can still feed your cattle, and you can still sell them,
Right. When with something like this, I mean, if you even had, some contract feeders with this, and you could put up a building, that would definitely be incentive for a young family to feed, a few thousand head of cattle, maybe in a confinement scenario, if that would work. Yeah. But I think there's opportunity like that that's out there, but finding the people and the families that are willing to do the work and that want to do it, that might be the challenge.
That's the harder part.
Well, maybe that's the expansion plan to make room for those 7 boys.
You were thinking right along my lines.
We could run feeder cattle.
That's part of the plan.
Yeah. I mean, Schiefelbein's always made him bring back a new idea. Yeah. Very good.
Well, I got a question from Mark.
No, I asked the questions here. No, what you got? What you got?
Step brothers, we're going to ask the questions now.
Fire away.
Tomorrow, I don't know if it's the big day, but don't some numbers change tomorrow?
Yes. Yeah. So we're recording this on the 22nd. Right. The numbers change. We'll go live tomorrow morning on the 23rd. Yep.
Right.
That'll be.
Do you want a crystal ball, or what's the question?
No. What impacts that? The functional longevity.
Yep.
What comes into play there to make that?
Yep. So I won't probably be able to do this completely justice. We're actually just recorded a video that's kind of a webinar that's going to go out on our website here. I don't know if it gets out first of next week, or maybe even tomorrow if they've got it finished. But so it can go into a lot more detail. But the big thing is functional longevity, which we've had out as a research EPD, and then the teat and udder, which we kind of think of it as one EPD, but there's really 2. It's one suspension and the other is teat size. So technically those are 3 EPDs that will all, so they're going to move out of a research EPD and move into what we term a production EPD, meaning every week everybody will see those. They'll go right on the pedigree now and or on the paper, I should say. And then the change is that as those come live, those now will be worked into $M, maternal wean calf value. So, and there's been a few other changes. Every year, of course, we update the economic assumptions that are underneath the indexes. So those update to the new 7-year rolling average. So that goes into effect. We had another a little change on heifer preg, just kind of the way again, they'll explain that well in the video, but some little tweaks to the heifer preg model.
There's some influence taking off of it, I think.
Yeah. Yep. So all of that will be updated again on May 23rd and go live. So the big changes are you're fitting more traits in to dollar maternal wean calf value, or $M, that are going to include now functional longevity. So again, trying to use the data that members have submitted around with inventory reporting and use that data that we've now got a lot more data on disposal codes and how long those cows are staying in the herds. Really trying to find those genetics that stick around longer, which you guys well know as far as your commercial customers in particular, that's so important. And then fit teat and udder in there as well.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited for it.
We'll be sure and link that video and those resources in the show notes. So anybody who's listening and wants to go back and hear Kelly or Esther or Devin explain it, we'll link that here so you can either read or
better
watch.
Than McCully's explanation. But
I didn't say that, but
you implied it.
But
no, I would say
we won't get anything done for the first 2 hours. Tomorrow we'll be looking what everything did. Right, be like the election results.
Results.
There you go.
Well, it's a good thing you're done with corn planting then.
Yeah,
that's right.
Well, we have kept you out of or off your to-do list here for a bit, so we always end with the random question of the week.
Fire away.
I want to know of the brothers, who was more likely to get into trouble as kids and who was more likely to be the one bailing them out of trouble?
Mm-hmm. Andy was always in trouble, but he never got caught.
I'm good.
So you're not the one bailing him out. You're like...
That was always what my older brother said about me, the younger brother, is the younger brothers get in trouble, but they do things, they just don't get caught. So.
That's right.
That's about right.
I'm stealthy.
So no epic story there of that one time that you saved each other's skin or anything, huh?
Not too much, I don't think. There's a pretty significant age difference between two of us. So
I see.
Yeah. 6 years apart.
400 years.
400 years.
Is that still the same today? Who's more likely to get into trouble and who's more likely to bail him out?
Nobody gets in trouble anymore.
Nobody gets in trouble. Sometimes I get myself into trouble on social media.
I don't do social media.
Andy's pretty tight-lipped on this.
I don't even know how to make a Facebook post.
That's funny. You guys are being pretty buttoned up. I think you're afraid your sons are going to listen to this. You don't want to give them too many ideas.
That's good.
That's very well true. Yes.
Well, guys, we really appreciate this. This has been a fun one for sure, and just have a ton of admiration for you guys and what Melvin started and your family started there, and what you guys have built on. It's fun to watch and brothers and hear you guys kind of talk, and it's a partnership, and the success of your operation kind of speaks for itself. What the impact you've had and the success of your sales, and probably more importantly the success of your customers. So congratulations, and we just really appreciate you guys jumping on here today and having a conversation with us.
It's been fun.
Thanks for having us. We look forward to continuing the conversation down the road too. So
Yep. Thanks you guys, and thanks for everything you do, and on behalf of the Angus breeders.
Well, thank you. And that's it for season 6. Thanks for coming along with us for the conversations. We hope you've enjoyed the guests we've had on, the topics we've covered, and the stories we've shared. Be sure to catch up on all your past podcast episodes in your favorite podcast platform, or look out for those special editions to come this summer. And to make sure that you never miss your daily dose of Angus news, subscribe to our AJ Daily. Visit angusjournal.net to learn more. This has been the Angus Conversation, an Angus Journal podcast.